So last night we had last night we had a rehearsal, and I had not been in a rehearsal for quite some time, about a year and a half, for obvious reasons. And it was a wake up to reality, because while you tried to keep yourself going, convincing yourself you were still sort of being theatrical and creative, this Zoom thing is not the same. And I'll tell you something, number of things just pop off the time. The Zoom thing is just one, it's like, this is like Zoom. It's like I am just looking at you and I don't have to. Now, that I'm looking in one direction. That's one thing that's not like Zoom. In the theater, it's 360 degrees. There's behind you, there's beside you, there's near you. Two people are existing in the same space. When you do the Zoom readings, you pretty much only have to be concerned with what this thing, this camera, this computer thing is looking at. And your senses just get, woo, boy, and the energy is intense. My throat, my voice is a little sore, because when you're speaking to this thing, I hate to say this thing, because it's an amazing thing, but it is not quite the same as a real space. You only have to speak as loud as your microphone. You don't have to project. And I'd sort of forgotten how to project, and I have to now start to go controlling my voice for a theatrical space, which is, it's harder, but it also gives you more subtlety to work with. You can start softer and go higher, and then go back and forth in between. With Zoom, it's just like, it's honest to God, it was like dealing with Hal. Hello, John. How are you doing? And I think that the Zoom algorithm, because it doesn't really want things to go crazy, actually compresses the voice into something that the computer can handle, because the computer is very limited in its perception. So not only are you in a space where you're not just dealing with a flat screen, and you're dealing with a surrounding speed, and you're dealing with levels of audio, but it's not being filtered through a computer. And that's one of the things. When it's filtered through a computer, you might as well just give up, because then you are held captive to the computer. And with here, the space and the people in it, it makes it far more immediate. And and you're more hyper alert, because in Zoom you can pretty much just anytime on Zoom, you sort of know that it's like, all I have to do is give this little much, and that's all they care, because they're going to only see this little much. Whereas when you're in front of someone, you know that you can deliver everything from very, very tiny to very large. Also, I had to move around. Okay, this is me. This is acting in Zoom. Boy, that's a lot of movement. That's really using your body a lot. No. When you are on stage, even your foot matters. You can't see my foot. There's not yet a Zoom camera for feet. Now, probably in the near future, there's going to be some kind of, because this Facebook people, right? They have taken the Ray-Bans and they put a little lens in there. I don't know what they're doing. Honestly, I think it's just nuts. I don't want to record that much of my day, and I don't want to see it exactly the way it is. I like to be able to remember it in a select fashion. That's part of being a human. It's like, because there's some things you don't want to see. So you don't want to see the stark reality. You don't want to remember the subway. When I'm on the subway, right, and it can be not a very pleasant place to see. I don't even see it when I'm on the subway. But now, if you had to actually see it, you'd cringe. You would cringe about your day. How did I get through that day? So, I digress. I did digress. I sort of forgot what I was saying. But oh yes, so your foot, even your foot matters, and your knees, and here, when you're just doing this, I'm not even sure what really matters, because no one can really see your face on computer, because after it goes through the various internets and the buffers, it's kind of milky, it's mushy. The details are drained out of it, and you're teeny tiny, small, and your color is dampened. It's like everyone becomes a beige. That's what happens when you go to a motel and it's all beige. Well, because it doesn't bother people. Well, it doesn't bother people, it doesn't excite people either. And so Zoom is just, we have crushed ourselves from our voices to our faces to a lack of a body, and now you're on stage and it is like, wow. And when you communicate with the other person on stage, it's like, we were doing things, it's like, it was so subtle. I had a moment when I had to drop to the ground and sort of scream like, I was probably like Charlton Heston in the 10 Commandments, only not the 10 Commandments. And it didn't occur to me that there was someone behind me, and that there were two of us, and we had, and I don't like to use the French word mise en scène, but we had a mise en scène, so it wasn't just like me, and it wasn't just him, but it was us together, and you are not together on Zoom. You are cut and edited, and not even a very good montage editing. So it was intense, so I'm tired, and my voice is a little ragged, and I also have to realize that you have to pace yourself, because like I said, Zoom, you barely have to put out any output, but when you're on live stage, you get to put out a lot of output, and that is what makes it enthralling and invigorating for the actor, and also for the performers, because when I was not in the scene and I watched it, I go, wow, I missed that. That was good, as opposed to just watching some, montage with a lot of voices. And right here, you're seeing live. There's a siren. There's real life going out in front of me. This is not just a soundtrack to something, I might be binging. It is real. And when you get there and you see it, then and there's a problem. There's a problem, because when you're real sensitive on stage. We, over the last 18 months, we were numbed for a reason, because if we didn't become numb, it would drive us crazy. But and there was no point, because the only thing that would perk our senses were things that drove us crazy. Now that we're getting out there, now we can use our senses for our enjoyment and everyone else's enjoyment, and that is what I learned in one of my first rehearsals back on stage. Thank you kindly.